to our Global Women Power Series. I'm Nancy, and I have a great writer here, Jaime Conrad. It's such a pleasure to meet you and to talk with you. So we're going to have a fun time here. And I have a question for you. First of all, I want to thank you for this opportunity to be with you. My first question actually is, what events in your life have triggered the inspiration inside of you to write?
Well, that's actually a very good question. It's actually been little things rather than big things. For example, a big part of my inspiration for my first trilogy was just a friendship that I've had with my best friend from high school for many years. And, you know, the series is about two teenage girls and, you know, all their adventures and time traveling and everything. And, you know, I was just writing that. I just kept thinking of, you know, of Cindy and me doing all that. So that, I don't know, just that particular friendship, it was just kind of it's a very, I guess, a rare friendship that has, you know, stood the test of time when you feel like, you know, you've got that true bond with somebody. Yeah, so that's a big part of it. And just, I mean, just little things. I mean, you know, like raising my daughter. I mean, that's always kind of, you know, I think every mom gets a little bit of inspiration from their kids, you know.
Absolutely.
So the main character in that series is actually named Bridget, which is my daughter's name. And then the rest of the inspiration just comes from, you know, day-to-day life and watching people and just, you know, maybe like certain, you know, just the way certain people strike you or certain things strike you, and it just kind of gives you an idea like, oh yeah, you know, I should put that in a book somehow. So yeah, just little things.
Great. I'm glad to hear all of that. By the way, I meant to explain what I am. I wear a couple of hats here. I'm a sports massage therapist. I'm a spiritual writer, lecturer, a musician. But I'm a person that loves to inspire people to see the best in themselves and have the best in themselves come out. So I was wondering, what effects do you wish to create in the readers? I'll tell you why I'm asking this. I was looking at the first chapter of your book, From Blood Winter. And you know that part where it's the cobweb that's stuck on an insect? It's wrapped around the insect and you're trying to shake it off with your finger. I was so scared. I couldn't read the rest of the chapter. I mean, oh my God, that was so awesome. So stuff like that. What is it that what effects do you try to create in your readers? It scared me. I don't want to read the rest of the book.
Well, I mean, that's kind of good to hear in a sense that it, you know, it had that emotional impact. Basically, it depends on what type of book I'm writing. For the thriller stuff, like you were reading, I do want to create that emotional impact. Like I want them to feel it. I want the reader to feel thrilled and they're experiencing all this, you know, wild stuff. You know, like Trent was scared because he's going to look into this house and he doesn't know what he's going to find. And then, yeah, that was just kind of a way to show how he was scared, you know, with the cobweb. So, yeah, the thriller stuff, yeah, I want them to feel it, experience those things. And then, like with the fantasy stuff, a lot of times I'm more like, I mean, there is a moral with the thriller stuff too, but with the fantasy stuff, I kind of like to teach a lesson or like, you know, kind of like show a certain side of, you know, human nature.
Yeah.
So they kind of come away with that.
Okay. You know, one of my biggest fears is to actually walk through a cobweb and go on my face. Oh, no. It's with me, or I have to inspect the whole area just before I go. Hey, by the way, what type of audience do you target or you hope to target?
Well, I've got a few. With my fantasy stuff, I kind of target like a women's fiction audience or fantasy readers, sci-fi, and young adult.
Oh, cool.
So that's and then the thriller stuff is, you know, that's a little broader. It's like mystery thriller readers, you know, people that like that sort of thing.
How do you, I'm wondering, that's good. I was wondering, how do you handle criticism? Not that we all love it all the time. We benefit from it, both from supporters or even non-supporters. I can't see how you wouldn't have any non-supporters. Yeah, I mean, I can't see anybody that wouldn't want to support you after reading your books.
Well, thank you. Well, yeah, criticism is just kind of a thing that goes with the territory. And yeah, there's good and bad. You know, a lot of times, you know, a reader will point something out to me, and sometimes it's actually really helpful. Like, they'll notice, like, oh, you know, well, this kind of didn't really make sense in this part, or like, well, I don't think they would have done this procedure like that. You know, they would have done this in like maybe a police procedure or something. And a lot of times I use it. I mean, I use their constructive advice because it's just going to make my books better. But, you know, there's always going to be, I mean, no matter how good someone's book is, or no matter how much work you put into it, there's always going to be, of course, some people that they just, you know, it wasn't for them. They didn't like it. And something that is a really great tool for like anybody who's starting out as a writer, and if they get a bad review and they're like, oh my God, I got a bad review. The best thing to do for that is, it's so fun, is go on Amazon and you pick out like one of the best-selling books you can think of, like Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings or Maze Runner or something like that, and read the bad reviews. And it'll literally be like 1 star, worst book ever written. You're going, how could anybody say that? But it's just to show you that, you know, all books get some bad reviews. So yeah, you don't really worry about it too much. You just keep going, keep improving, and you know, when you get the constructive criticism, I mean, use it, you know.
And some people will read it because if something is a bad review, why is it such a bad review? Then they want to go read it. So sometimes really bad publicity on a mass scale is in a person's favor. It gives them publicity.
Exactly.
So what inspires you? What's your aspirations for the future?
Well, I mean, I want to take it to, you know, 6 figures a year. I mean, I want to really make a good income. I mean, I basically have the viewpoint that, you know, I'll write as many books as it takes to do that. If it takes 100, great, I'll write 100.
Wow.
I mean, it might not take that many, but, you know, but yeah, I guess I feel like, you know, my friend Cindy has told me that, you know, she believes that you should dream big. And I mean, I agree. You should just dream big, you know?
Absolutely. I'm so happy that you look outside the box and you learn from every experience in your life, both positive and negative. And how much time does it actually take to finish a book before it's out there for the readers?
Well, that depends on several factors. It depends on, for one thing, how much time I have to spend on that. Like in the beginning, it took me a while because I worked full time. You know, I just didn't have tons of time every day to work on the book. So it would maybe take me like a year per book, which is, I felt was too long. Now I started dictating. So I can get a rough draft dictated in about a month. And then it takes, you know, maybe like 2 to 3 more months to like go through and like rewrite, edit, polish it up, and really get it ready. So now it's about 4 months. So in dictation, you know, that was kind of a new hurdle. Like I had to learn that. And it's very strange at first when you're used to typing out the whole story to go from that to speaking. And
is that the Talk to the Dragon program or something like that?
Yeah, there is one like that. I don't use that. I just use Google Documents. You just speak and it just transcribes it right on the you know, the document. But yeah, so that's kind of a new thing that I just started, but it's making it so much faster to get that rough draft done, because once that rough draft is done, that's the hardest part, is get that story written. And then just go and, you know, I'm going and rewriting the heck out of it. But I can always rewrite it. It's getting that rough draft done.
I remember taking English 101 writing in college. And oh my God, I had to think, what am I going to write about? What am I going to say? So I was wondering, do you need a specific mood setting, a time, a location, just to activate your creativity and writing skills?
I don't really need a specific setting other than, I mean, like I could do it at the house or like at the library or somewhere. I do really need to be alone. I mean, there are some people that, you know, I've heard of mothers with like their kids running around screaming and they're like writing their book. I
Oh
mean,
my
I
goodness.
think,
Right.
man, that's great. More power to you, but I can't do that. I need, you know, I just need to be alone and have quiet. But yeah, I mean, as far as getting the creative juices flowing, I mean, it's kind of like there are days when I just don't feel that. There are days when I'm just like, oh, there's nothing today. There's nothing. But, you know, you kind of learn that you have to treat it like a job, because it is. Because when you're making money at something, it's a job. And you kind of train yourself that almost no matter how you feel, you just sit down, you know, you put your butt in the chair, you open that Word document, and you get something on the page. And
Yeah. Well, I know
and
before I massage anybody, I have to ground myself so that there's no negative inspiration. And sometimes it's like acting on TV. If you're not in the mood to be happy and a family member ticked you off and you have to pretend, you have to get yourself in that mood. So I'm probably assuming even when you do your writing, you have to put yourself in the particular mood that you want to create. That's what I was wondering.
yeah, you do. You just kind of train yourself to do it, kind of like you said, like acting. It's like, well, yeah, maybe I don't feel like my absolute best on this certain day, but I'm just gonna get in there and I'm gonna, you know, I'm gonna do it.
Hey, by the way, how challenging can it be to be a successful writer such as you? How challenging is it?
Well, thank you. Well, honestly, at first, when you start out, it can be very challenging.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, a big part of that is, for one thing, the first time we do something, it's usually not our very best, because, you know, even if the first book is good, you know, it's our first one, and it's kind of, you know, now there are some people that they do get like the perfect book on the first one, which, I mean, more power to you if you do that. But so, you know, the first book, it might not be as great as your 10th book. It probably won't be. But, you know, you master writing, and then the other part of that is you have to understand the other side of it, which is, you know, how do you market the books? How do you promote yourself? How do you get the books to the right readers?
Yeah.
And that's a whole other learning curve. So, you know, I had to go through all that and, you know, I had to grow as a writer and learn, like, well, how do I really write the books that people want? But then how do I, you know, promote it and get the books to sell? It's like these two different things. So yeah, at first it's challenging. I mean, the best thing to do is, you know, there are some great websites out there. Derek Murphy is an indie author who has some absolutely great advice. I mean, it just saved my neck.
Oh.
I was ready to quit. I found his.
Oh no, don't quit.
But his site is creativeindie.com. So that was one that really helped me, because he tells you things that, you know, you are really challenged with in the beginning. I mean, that you don't always know. I mean, the cover has to look a certain way. It's not enough that it be pretty or it look nice. I mean, it's really got to communicate certain things, you know, or the readers just won't buy it. And so you learn these little things, and you learn how to market and how to promote. And so yeah, it's challenging at first, but you can do it, you know, just like any job. There's that learning curve, but you keep going and you bust through, and you can do it, you know, gradually. Just you kind of build it up, build your income up.
I'm wondering, I bet it's hard predicting what the audience wants, how they will react. I'll tell you why. One time I wanted to help my daughter with a GoFundMe project for a really good cause. It was like a health thing. And I see a lot of people weren't getting the results they wanted with their funding projects. And then I would see something stupid like save the cat's whisker, it's going to fall off. And then all of a sudden they raised $2 million. So it's frustrating. But you have done it.
Yeah.
You have done it. So how can a woman empower herself to be successful as a writer? Like you're functioning as a wife, a mother, an employee. You've got so much energy in you. It radiates from you. That beautiful thing comes out of you. You shine. So what is the trick?
Well, thank you. Well, my daughter is grown now. However, what you can do when if you've got kids at home, if you've got a job, you're doing your housework, everything else, you need to you need to take it gradually at first, because it's going to be overwhelming to try to fit in like this giant block of writing time when you really can't at first. So, you start off, you just carve out a little time. You figure out, okay, you kind of plan it out. Okay, I'm going to have, an hour on this day. I can probably do 3 hours on this day. And maybe you could carve out like one whole weekend day. It just depends on the person. But, you figure it out. You coordinate with your significant other, and, you carve out your writing time, and you really, if you've got a lot going on and a lot of people at home, you really kind of need to find a place where you can tuck yourself away out of the chaos.
Yeah.
It's too much. Like I said, there are some people that can do it, but it's too much. So you just carve it out. There have been, I've talked to writers who they could only write 1 day a week, and they still became successful. They just, every Saturday, that was their day. Like they had the kids, at the sitter or wherever, and they had their day, and they just wrote like mad every Saturday. And they wrote a lot of books doing that. So, carve out little bits of time at first, and then, as your life calms down, as you can put more order in, you can increase it to more.
So I noticed you have 58,000 followers on Twitter. Kudos, kudos, kudos. That is awesome. I'm wondering, what's the best ways that you've found to connect with all of these readers?
I do connect with readers somewhat on Twitter, a little bit, I'll get messages and things like that on there. Probably the best ways are just email. Like I put my email on Amazon, so if someone wants to, write me, they can.
Yeah.
And then Facebook, like I've got a Facebook author page, and sometimes they'll write me there. So those are the best ways for me. But I know every author has their own kind of best spots to hang out with readers.
I've got a message for the listeners, the viewers of this. ConradFantasy.com. I was on there today, and I like the giveaways and the prizes that you have for everybody, to give them samples of your fantastic work. And again, it's impressive, and it's good to see that you do outreach to the people like that you're not out there just to try to sell this or sell that you actually give them the opportunity to experience what your life, and your life is what you write. And I wanted to really thank you so much for allotting time for me today, so that we can get more of this unknown information about you.
Well, thank you so much for having me.